Alright guys, let's get back to penciling here. So after what Val and Jagger have been through the last story arc, which is crazy, Val's finally kind of grown a little bit of balls and a little less of a mama's boy now. So I'm trying to draw that in his character as well, just, you know, the level of confidence. One of the things I like to try to do too when I'm doing these pencils is not only do I keep the stabilization completely off on the pencil here, I try and mentally think about like how I lay out a page when I'm working on paper and what tools I'm using. So at this point, all that lighter pencil stuff is my pencils, and then I would usually, well, they were the layouts, right? And then I would take a pen, a ballpoint pen, I don't have one around here, a uniball, and I would use that uniball to outline all the basic shapes, kind of what I'm doing here. There's no shading or anything, it's just the shapes. And I keep in mind there's like a drag that comes with digging the pen into the paper. And no matter what kind of filament or cover that you can get for your Cintiq, that kind of mimics paper and stuff, it's never really the same. So just mentally, I try to get myself there. And I forget to do that sometimes. Like all this stuff like that, one of the reasons I like doing these videos is it reminds me of what I need to do to keep consistent. And that kind of slightly herky-jerkiness that you get from a pen on paper digging into it is something I try and keep in mind. And that's just totally a mental game. And I think with the background too, I'm just gonna do another one. This is easier at the single point perspective. So use the square to drag the horizon line. Let's see if I can get this to line up with my sketchiness. Yeah, it's not bad. That's how I laid out my perspective when I was sketching. Now I think I'm probably really just going to use a bunch of fake shapes in here. What the hell did I do? Pencil. I'm just going to lay out some basic shapes, which I believe I'm going to later ignore. Meaning, I'm going to draw this digitally, and I just want to lay out some shapes for myself here. So I'm going to probably end up just doing the background completely digital. There might not be anything here, I'm not sure. Basically what I know I'm going to do is I'm going to ink most of this page traditionally, and I'll probably finish out some of the details digitally, including some background elements. Like I might get SketchUp back here for a boxing rink. I'm not sure. Sometimes you just kind of figure things out as you go along. I might just keep those as a bunch of abstract shapes back here. It's all going to be dark and noir-y anyway, because this is a scene where the crime people are getting together. It should contrast with the pages that came before this, which was it was New York, celebratory, out in the open, bright sunlight. So this is going to go like the opposite of that. yeah, if you don't mind the rest of this page, it's just along for the ride. I'm just gonna draw, listen to my music. If you're curious, actually, I should do one of the Spotify playlists. You can see what I'm listening to if you care. Listening to craft spells right now. Giving the Don a sort of like sideways smile. Bow tie. I had this sort of code going on before, which I forgot about, where I was giving certain characters sharp, pointy collars and old school 1920s round collars, and they meant two different things. Unfortunately, because of the time that went between Series 1 and the second series and stuff, I forgot what I was doing there, or that I was doing that. And I think what it was the sharper collars were meant for real bad guys, assholes, and villains, whereas the rounder collars were meant for to be good characters, or neutral characters at least. Maybe I'll pick up on that again. I mean, big deal if I didn't do it for a little bit, right? It's not this kind of thing most people would notice anyway. It's more subliminal and kind of code from me. Drawing big thugs is kind of fun. I don't need to do all the details on these guys because I know this background's going to be like heavily shaded. Lots of shadows. You know, when you're doing like really simple shapes like this, or heavily shadowed stuff, one of the things I find is good is you figure out what are the most important things that you need. Like for a suit, it's the collar. It's the collar on the suit, the collar on the shirt, and the shape that the tie or bow tie will make, and buttons. It's kind of all you need, and then the rest will that's all you need to describe a shape. I mean, I could probably get rid of everything around them and just have those floating shapes in there. You'll know what it is. I think that's basically done. Just a little bit of framing devices here around some of the characters. Actually, I could set up another perspective ruler. Grab this tool here to reactivate it. Oh, this is really bad. Maybe. So this is the horizon line here, basically. So right now, Val is shorter than the Don because his eye line is actually under his eye line. I'm not going to sweat that right now. I'm going to move it in a second. Right now, I just want to set up some perspective lines here. I'm doing this because there'll be some signs or whatever, just to show them they're in this other room that's entering. And I'm not too worried about what exactly these shapes are right now. Like, is this a hallway? Is this what? I don't know. I just want some basic shapes, and I'll kind of figure it out once I kind of get to inking the pages. So to fix this eye line thing, I'm going to do two things. I'm going to grab Val. I'm going to move him up. Yeah, and I'm also going to lower the Don just a tiny bit. I'm not even sure it's worth it. So let's do it anyway. Don is pretty short. It's meant to be not a tall dude. And this is basically it, man. I'm gonna do, sometimes I'll do another layer where I will spot out my blacks. And I also like to sometimes really lower the opacity on my layout thing, but keep it there. But this time I'm not. I don't think that was a layer of anything. So sometimes I'll then also create another layer and I'll spot my black. So I'll do like this, and then I know the rest I could see this, like there's not too much heavy shadow casting here. Nothing I can't figure out on my own as I'm just drawing it. And they're mostly in black here, so yeah, I think that's fine. And keep in mind that this is, alright, this is going to be dark behind them. This will be light behind them, so I don't mind if the black goes all the way to the edges. Like he's almost a silhouette at the top, whereas here is more core lighting down below because this is going to be, yeah, be like that, right? This is going to be fun to do, I can tell. I think that's good enough. I think that's all I need. I'm going to lower that opacity even more. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to print this out as a well, I could do it as a non-repro blue and then color or ink directly on top of that blue line that I print out, or I could just print it out like this and then lightbox it. Trying to think which I want to do. I don't know. I'll figure it out in a little bit, and I'll do some time-lapse recording of that as well for you guys. So that's it. That's a page there. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope it wasn't too rambly for you guys. And that's it. So thanks again for following and supporting. It makes a big deal to me. And I'd rather be doing this stuff than on Twitter, where there's all kinds of nastiness and stuff. Randos calling me out. It's pretty obnoxious sometimes. Anyway, that's it. Hope you're liking Murder Inc. and there's more powers coming and stuff, and we'll talk soon.